Hey, Foot Clan. Today's show is brought to you by the Draft app. You've heard us talking about them all week long. It's the best new DFS app. You've got to check it out for your phone. And listen, tons of our listeners are winning money on Draft. People win on Draft. It is a great place to go. Do snake drafts, 50-50s, and they've got a bunch of leagues. You can form leagues with your friends. You can jump in. You can draft in 2 seconds. So go to playdraft.com/ballers or go to the App Store, type in Draft, and download it and use the promo code BALLERS to play with us.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the FantasyJocks.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome to the show!
Yeah, we got to wake people up after that.
Oh,
The debacle of Monday night that just kept going and going and going.
welcome. Yeah, you know, it's too much. I think it's too much on Monday night when one of the games ends up like that.
And here's the thing. Honestly, I have never complained about a football game, about having to watch a game. Even when they're bad, I'm still entertained. I love them. That was the worst thing I've ever seen.
I was entertained by Twitter.
If you were not on Twitter, if you didn't follow our tips and tricks of getting on Twitter, that made the game bearable.
I shared
incredible.
poetry about the game.
Yes.
It was so inspiring. Got some hate because of that.
What was your poem, Andy?
It went like this. Roses are red, violets are blue. Neither of these teams has a shot at making the playoffs.
Wow, that's deep.
Masterful, huh?
But Andy, I'm a fan of those teams.
Yeah, I got some hate. Look, somebody asked me, how do I know? And I told them Case and Blaine told me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not good football.
Here, if you want to know, let's say you missed the game last night.
That's the quick question, by the way. Quick question is last night, the 2 games, some fantasy feedback.
I want to give the people out there, I want to give you a rundown. Here's what the Rams drive chart finished at. The results.
Sure.
This is good. This is good stuff.
We are a stat-based show, so break it down.
Punt, 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 interception, punt, 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 interception, punt, turnover on downs.
That's not a joke.
That's
there was
the Rams,
nothing else in
That
there.
is the Rams offense from last night.
So
I tweeted out, this just proves how bad Jared Goff is. And people are like, what? He's not even playing. Yeah, that's the point.
correct me if I'm wrong.
He wasn't even the backup.
Yeah, that was atrocious.
I will say this. Jared Goff could do better.
I don't know why you
could do better.
Why would you not just play him?
Well, the good news is for Rams fans, they have the Seahawks next week.
That's very, very nice. And they have Jeff Fisher.
Now, there were some highlights in this game.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's
and
true.
so I want to play the audio, the radio call of one of the biggest highlights in the game.
From
now,
Kevin Harlan, correct?
Now, this is Kevin Harlan. Now, keep in mind, this is a player you haven't heard of that ran onto the field.
3rd and 4, looks into the nickel of San Francisco in the secondary. Hey, somebody has run out on the field. Some goofball in a hat and a red shirt. Now he takes off the shirt. He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. He's bare-chested and banging his chest. Now he runs the opposite way. He runs to the 50. He runs to the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him. They're not going to get him. Waving his arms, bare-chested. Somebody stop that man.
Here comes the blue coat,
Oh,
Kevin.
they got him.
Here
They're
comes the
coming
blue
from the
coats.
left. Oh, and they tackle him at the 40-yard line.
Oh, man.
Oh, that was the most exciting thing to happen tonight.
That was Kevin Harlan.
Pretty
Westwood
special. And what was great is during the actual coverage of this, they don't give the camera, they don't put it on the guy that was running onto the field. By the way, that was not Jason. It was not Jason, bare-chested,
I don't run
banging
that
his
fast.
chest. He can't run that fast. But the camera, in somewhat perfect irony to me, the camera was just on a stone-faced Jeff Fisher the entire time.
Yes, but there's also videos of people they have mashed the radio call into video where you can see what the fan is doing, and
It's delightful.
It's one of
All
the
right.
best things you'll see today.
All right, fantasy football questions from the game. Is Jeremy Kerley the best wide receiver to own on the San Francisco 49ers?
Yes. And
Okay.
probably not all that worthy of owning.
Are you concerned about Todd Gurley's performance?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm concerned with the Rams' performance, which was always the hang-up with Todd Gurley. I expect that they'll get some things figured out and that they're not going to.
The defense gave up. The defense realized Keenum was not going to get them anything. And we've seen this before with teams. Eventually the defense said, okay, we can't do it. I mean, we can't come back from 14-21 down. Good night.
I will
Sleep
say,
tight.
and then it's the offense of the Rams is concerning for Gurley. And what else is concerning, right at the start of the game, on their first drive, 2 third downs. Both
Yes.
times was Benny Cunningham.
All game long, third down. There was one drive.
Todd Gurley's a 2-down banger on a terrible offense.
There was one drive where I saw Gurley in there on third down.
Let's be careful.
Yeah, okay. So
Let's
guess
be careful because
he's
Todd
a very
Gurley
good,
was-
very, very good 2-down banger.
Okay, but as a fantasy owner, there are people going to be freaking out the same way they
Adrian Peterson.
overreact to Adrian Peterson or Brandon Marshall or any of these guys that had struggles week 1. Would you be trying – I mean, would you just sit on Gurley, right?
Yes.
At this time,
sit on Gurley or, in my opinion, trade for Gurley if you can buy him at half the value. If
Sure, because people are freaking
he's
out.
going to have great games. But I've also seen people have said, I've been offered David Johnson for Todd Gurley.
No.
I would do it.
Well, no. I'm saying yes. Take
yeah,
the David Johnson.
But
side
that's
of that
because I
equation.
would have drafted Johnson ahead of Gurley regardless of this performance.
David Johnson is a 3-down back.
Correct.
David Johnson's in there to pass protect. He's in there to catch the ball, and he's in there to run the ball. Let's talk about the other game.
Yes.
The more entertaining game. How good are the Steelers? We're going to get into today's a waiver show, okay? We're going through all the waiver wire pickups. We've got our full stream ahead where we give you our streaming quarterbacks. Fantasy takeaways from that game. Obviously, Cousins fell flat on his face, was not accurate. They moved the ball between the 20s.
Well, Jason's giving me the 2 guns, and he actually finished just a shade under 70% and with over 300 yards. He didn't score any touchdowns.
Well,
Eyeballs. What did the eyeballs tell you?
Sure, the eyeballs said that he was not
Bad decision making.
Yes, I agree.
Inaccurate.
I agree that he didn't look like the end of season Kirk Cousins. I will agree with that. But the final, if he had scored,
It doesn't matter.
okay, but
Well,
the fantasy numbers would have been fine
if
scored.
he had scored a touchdown, then yeah, fantasy wise, he would have been fine. Obviously, he didn't score.
They
a touchdown.
play. Pittsburgh decided this. We're going to play a soft zone and let Kirk Cousins be 100% from the field as long as he throws it 4 yards to the outside. I mean, that's what it was to me. Not impressive. I do think they'll right the ship. I mean, I like DeSean Jackson's involvement. I'd be trying to buy DeSean Jackson. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah,
I would be
as
trying
would
to
I.
buy DeSean Jackson. He looked very active, looked all over the field, missed the deep throw. Always going to get that shot. But obviously the Steelers dominated this game. D'Angelo Williams delivered for fantasy owners in a humongous way. Antonio Brown was par for his course, which is like better than anybody he's ever played.
And the Scoocher Booch
Got penalized.
That 15-yard was worth every
So
single yard.
Some kinds of dances are penalized.
Well,
Like,
he went. If you're familiar with the Key and Peele sketch, you can't go with three thrusts is over.
That's what I was
when the
wondering.
penalty comes.
All right. One thing we did not discuss before we get into the news.
Well, from the Washington game, you got to talk about Matt Jones.
What about him?
He did not look very good, and you thought Matt Jones looked okay?
I did. I thought Matt Jones looked good. They were destroyed. I mean, they were behind. Matt Jones, to me, looked pretty quick. He looked like he had a handle on the job. They had
the
very
job-
little opportunity to me.
It looked
So
like
we
he
didn't
was
see the same thing.
I guess not. Well, and I also saw that Chris Thompson was getting a bunch of snaps. They were very close to 50-50.
Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I think Matt Jones concerns me for fantasy. I'm not in love with starting him. He got 7 carries, worked for 24 yards. I mean, I didn't see anything that made me think positively for Matt Jones, but I will obviously concede that they were down the entire game, and it wasn't a good game script for Matt Jones. But I mean, you need a guy. I mean, where you drafted Matt Jones, you need him to be able to produce more than 4 fantasy points in a difficult game script.
And
All right, we're going to get it.
I was going to say you can drop Rob Kelly. He didn't get on the field.
We're going to get into the news and notes. We're going to get into the waiver wire and the streaming quarterbacks and talk about a few other things. I want to do a quick shout out. We don't know who it was. I don't know the name of the gentleman that sent us a signed David Johnson ball, but I wanted to give a brief shout out and say thank you for that.
Yeah,
This
you
is
did.
awesome.
Very
Because he contacted us through Twitter. It was very gracious. We appreciate it very much. But finding DMs on Twitter, as you know, is nearly impossible. And you didn't put a note in the box. But we are very appreciative. Thank you.
If you want to follow the show on Twitter, you can do so at the FF Ballers. You can find us on the web at thefantasyfootballers.com. And I want to invite everybody listening to the show to join thefoot.com. That's where our fantasy football community is. Extra episodes every week. We got giveaways. We have exclusive content. We're going to be putting up some different premium statistics in there and some other things.
Answer tons of questions.
Tons of questions. Yeah, and there's a community of about 2,000 people that listen to this show that you can also bounce your questions off of as well. It's just a great way to go through the fantasy football you hear. Jointhefoot.com. So let's get into the news.
News and notes from around the league.
We have so much to discuss on this show. I want to try to get through the news as quickly as I can without missing anything. Zach Ertz looks like he's going to miss at least this week, probably more. Rib displacement.
How quickly he was ruled out this week says he'll miss more than 1 week. To me, it was like, okay, this is serious. We cannot act like he's in. Whether that's 2 weeks or 4 weeks, more news will come out.
When we get into the waiver section, we'll talk about some tight ends you can pick up to replace Zach Ertz on your roster. All right, it was a long, glorious road for Robert Griffin III. He's on injured reserve with a broken bone in his non-throwing shoulder.
Just short-term IR.
I know, but that's 8 weeks minimum.
right.
Yeah, it's a long term.
So he's not coming back. They also many reports said that the odds of him coming back are very, very low this season because he could need surgery in 3 or 4 weeks from now if it doesn't heal right. This is Gary Barnidge owners, Duke Johnson owners, smile.
Absolutely.
Josh Gordon owners, smile. I'm buying Josh Gordon. Josh McCown is a better quarterback. He is in a better situation to succeed in terms of producing for other fantasy owners. I mean fantasy players. I just like McCown behind center. I think we all wanted that. We all hoped that would happen. Not necessarily like this for Robert Griffin III's health, but I am buying a couple of those players. I think Duke Johnson, the poor week, he produced great with McCown.
Yeah, this is literally good for every single Brown player offensively except maybe Isaiah Crowell.
Pay close attention to Demaryius Thomas this week. He said he was, quote, feeling better, will return to practice. I'm going to share my own take. I do not think he is a guarantee to start this week. I actually lean more towards him not playing. That is my personal interpretation of how Demaryius is talking about his injury as opposed to the team. We will see. It's 50-50 right now for me.
Little early, but I'm just going to say Emmanuel Sanders is going to be such a great play this week because even if Demaryius Thomas is out there, we've seen sometimes they bring a guy out there to be a decoy. The Colts defense is destroyed.
Virgil Green, C.J. Anderson, Emmanuel Sanders, and Demaryius Thomas, if he plays, are all great starts.
Yep.
Speaking Monday, Jaguars coach Gus Bradley says Julius Thomas suffered a sprained ankle in the Packer game. He had a good game, but he has an ankle sprain. We need to monitor him for the week. Chiefs coach Andy Reid said he is unsure of Jamaal Charles' status. Ed Werder reported this morning he's very, that Charles might miss another week. I was on the radio this morning, and somebody asked me about Spencer Ware. Do you get rid of him now? What do you do with him? No, you keep Spencer Ware. You play Spencer Ware. I think the Kansas City's in it for the long haul, to me. And the long haul says getting Charles back to be fully healthy. Even if he's active, I think Spencer Ware is probably a productive RB2-3 flex play, even with Charles active for a few weeks.
Yeah, and I think that should scare you for the value of Jamaal Charles. There's no world in which Jamaal Charles is going to come back from this lingering, this elongated injury, and then they're just going to make him the bell cow. It's just not going to happen.
Not in week one of his return, that's for sure. All right, we've got reports. No real Chris Ivory updates other than the fact he remains hospitalized and in pain.
Yeah.
More tests being done. Could be, no need to speculate other than the fact that if it was something like an appendix we would have heard reports on that already. We don't know what it is. So you need to pay attention to whatever source you're on, Sleeperbot, Roto-World, whatever.
Someone was saying, should I drop Yeldon? No, do not drop Yeldon.
No. Yeldon had not a great rushing week, but he was a workload back. Mm-hmm. And he caught a ball and he scored a touchdown. So another thing interesting about the Charles news is Ware and West played the same amount of snaps, but Ware was infinitely
but did they?
more productive. Lastly, the Russell Wilson watch is on. They say he's going to practice. He'll probably have reps limited this week. He said, quote, the injury is, Pete Carroll said it's nothing very serious.
Nothing very serious.
That's great. But hey,
it's only serious.
Before we get in the waivers, I just wanted to get, what was your take on Carlos Hyde from last night's game?
My take on Carlos Hyde was he looked all right. I think he's going to get himself injured. That's my honest take from the game. He
let's say he's not injured though.
Yeah, okay.
Moving forward, where is Carlos Hyde for you?
RB2. Yeah, RB2.
That's
I mean,
fair.
he had a couple goal line scores. He had that delay run where he scored the first touchdown. It was pretty impressive. I thought Sean Drone looked good. I thought the Rams looked really, really bad.
Yeah, I think he had a couple nice moves. Carlos Hyde did, and he was okay. But he is, and I'm just saying. I mean, I'm not saying that he didn't earn the stuff, but he is truly a week 1 warrior. I mean, last year week 1, the year before that week 1. I think I saw that in his week 1s he's got something like 500 yards and
I think
touchdowns.
it's just over 300.
300,
Well,
yeah, 300 yards.
You have to keep in mind. I mean,
7,000 yards.
Carlos Hyde has not proven it over the course of his season. He didn't even have 500 yards last year, and
he goes to the Carolina Panthers,
right?
Making
and so I would just if you can cash in on him, for RB1 value somehow, I would do it.
I would as well.
Let's move on to the waivers.
Put me in, coach.
I am sure there are 10 million people that you would like us to discuss on this episode. We're going to focus on the big names. I did get some heat. I'm going to bring these two things up real quick. We didn't mention the Blackjack Del Rio 2-point conversion to Michael Crabtree, and for some reason we didn't mention Melvin Gordon in the Stud Muffins.
We didn't?
No.
Oh.
And so he deserved a mention, scored his first 2 touchdowns in the NFL. I think we were talking a lot about Woodhead's production.
Because
Melvin Gordon looked good,
snapping him, too.
Sure. And I said that on the radio this morning, too. Woodhead's one of my biggest buys this week. If I was choosing somebody that I wanted, he's the guy I think can make up for Keenan Allen in certain ways in that offense. 2-point conversion was amazing.
I love the call.
It's one of those, like, why'd you do it if you do it and miss? And if you do it and you get it, it's amazing. So props to the Raiders. It's nice to see them get a win to start the season. I don't think that's happening in the century. All right, let's start at the wide receiver position. Let's start this way. Let's each give our kind of favorite pickup. It can be the same, but let's give our favorite waiver wire pickup this week. We're going to give you the percentages of ownership, and then we'll go through some other names. Who's your favorite, Jason?
Are you saying in all positions, or are you saying
no
wide receiver?
Okay, for wide receiver, my favorite is definitely Will Fuller. Will Fuller looked to be the real deal. The way he was used, he is clearly the wide receiver 2 for a team that I expect to have a very good offense. O'Brien uses the passing game well, and I believe that Will Fuller can have, of all of the current rookie wide receivers, the largest impact for fantasy this season based on what we've seen so far. And the nice thing is he didn't just come out for week 1 and do this out of nowhere. Reports were great in camp. He moved, ahead of Strong on the depth chart. Then in preseason, he was great. And now week 1, he did it in live real action. So I'm buying into Will Fuller, and that would be my number 1 waiver claim at the wide receiver position.
For me, it's Tajae Sharpe, 41% owned. I like him more in PPR leagues than I do Will Fuller. I think Fuller will break some of those big plays. I like Tajae Sharpe a lot. I think it was very clear that Sharpe was the number 1 in Tennessee, which I love being able to grab a number 1 on waiver wire. You saw Rashard Matthews play behind Harry Douglas. I think you have a bounce-back week. Mariota was in my stream consideration. I didn't go with him this week, but I think you see a bounce-back week for Mariota. They did some good things. I like Tajae Sharpe. He'd be my number 1 wide receiver waiver wire pickup.
Yeah, what's interesting about this week, I don't know if there's anybody in this entire list, though, that I'm going to burn my number 1 waiver priority on there. Would you burn it for Tajae Sharpe?
I would burn it for Tajae Sharpe, yeah.
One of those two guys.
If I needed a guy.
If you're the Keenan Allen owner,
sure,
so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah, it does depend on your needs.
All right, my number 1 guy this week for right now, I'm with Jason and Will Fuller. The 11 targets was very surprising. I don't know if he'll get near that again, but he's going to be a big play guy while while the DBs have to focus on DeAndre Hopkins, which is going to clear some room for Will Fuller.
Fuller looked great.
And everything Jason said, I just echo. Looked great in the preseason. Did it translate? The answer for me is yes. My favorite speculative ad right now is actually Chris Hogan, who I know he took advantage of a rookie DB, but the fact that he's locked in as that wide receiver 2 for the New England Patriots, you're probably not going to get tons of production from him for the next 3 weeks. But when Tom Brady comes back, Chris Hogan, we saw what Brandon LaFell did, which is almost 1,000 yards, and Chris Hogan is an extremely talented receiver. They gave him a decent contract.
You're not worried about distribution with Amendola and the other guys affecting Hogan?
No, long term, I think Chris Hogan's a guy I want to stash on my bench. And the thing about him is you can get him, I assume, without burning your priority. But if he has another good week, then you're not going to be able to get him for free. So that's why I'm okay. If you have that burner spot and you don't need somebody right now from the wide receiver position, I like him.
Yeah, try to get him for free as opposed to burning that waiver. I don't think you'll need it on Hogan. Hey, before we continue on, we want to remind everybody about the Draft app. Andy talked about it early. We've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks, and actually,
it's awesome.
In this studio, we have been talking about it for months. We've been excited for the season to get here because we actually genuinely love this. We are playing every Sunday morning, and thousands of people are playing with us. It's free to download the app. The games are $1, are $5, $10, and it is so much easier to win. You're going in regular draft, snake order, what you're used to playing, and you're playing against other people who you're at an advantage over.
It just feels really strategic.
Yeah, it's great. So it's actually proven that you can win easy on draft. A lot of people having fun. It makes Sundays more fun. If you use the code BALLERS when you download the Draft app, you'll be automatically entered into our weekly drafts, which are both free and $10, whichever one you want. And you can compete against us at week 4. We're giving out a monster prize for whoever beats us, which, it'll probably stay here in the studio, of course. But the Draft app is a blast. Everybody's been enjoying it. So if you haven't downloaded it yet, go to your mobile phone, download the Draft app, and enter the promo code BALLERS to also, they are going to match your first deposit up to $600.
Yeah, and I'm doing weekly water bets with some fans. I squeaked out a victory with Antonio Brown and D-Well last night. Squeak!
That's a nice combo, though.
Yeah,
so your five-man team.
That worked out, so I expect a video of you paying the piper. Look, we also want to thank the 5-4 Club. Look, we know that shopping is a drag. Fellas, I don't want to do it. You got to go to the mall. You know who's at the mall? The mall kiosk people. The worst. I avoid them at all costs, and I can do that with 5-4 Club, and they make it easy to sign up. I get to personalize my style preference. I'm wearing 5-4 right now. They give you a mix. You can choose classic, casual, forward mix. What are you? 5-4 has it.
Somebody tweeted me their full get-up today. They
Absolutely.
got the 5-4 Club. They tweeted me their picture.
And I imagine they were looking extremely sharp.
They looked great.
I got my first box of 5-4. I was beyond thrilled. I mean, I was like literally excited. My closet.
Allen Robinson level excitement.
Higher.
Look, they have clothes for every situation, work, leisure, just being awesome. They got clothes for that. They got free shipping. You build out your wardrobe. Are you curious to see how easy 5-4 Club really is? Go to 54club.com. Use the promo code BALLERS at sign up. Get 2 packages for your first order. That's $60 for over $240 worth of clothing. That's promo code BALLERS for the $240 worth of clothing for just $60. This offer expires at the end of September. That's 5-4 Club.
All right. I want to move on to a wide receiver here who every time he caught the ball, Des Bryant owners' eyes rolled into the back of their head repeatedly. So 8 times they rolled into the back of their head because Cole Beasley was the man for Dak Prescott. Cole Beasley, 8 catches. Jason Witten, 9 catches. Des Bryant, 1 catch. Look, this is what we warned you about with a rookie quarterback. He's looking for guys out of the backfield. He's looking to hand the ball off, and he's looking underneath because he wants to be safe with the ball. He's
looking to not lose the game.
Exactly. They don't want him to lose it. And I'm not – look, Des will be okay. I'm not trading Des Bryant or dropping him for Cole Beasley. Would you sign Cole Beasley? Would you take a flyer on him, or do you just – I mean –
if you're in a deeper league and you need those targets, look, 12 targets for Cole Beasley. I mean, that's outrageous.
You know what we should do is we should start like a fantasy football kiosk in the mall so you can like pressure people with advice. from the middle kiosk. Like,
people
Hey, man,
sir, we-
have you seen some Cole?
Sir,
you
you
need
want-
any Cole Beasley? You need any Cole Beasley? I got Cole Beasley over here.
What about a Tajae Sharpe?
I'm not buying into Cole Beasley. I mean, I guess if I'm in a PPR league and I need my team's destroyed, then he'll be okay because, like you said, he's going to get 7 or 8 of these dump-off targets while Dak is in there, all for about 2 or 3 yards. But they will add up. I just don't really believe that he's got long-term value.
Correct. I agree with that.
Let me give you some more zero fab or zero or low fab purchases if you want to take a flyer on guys. Eli Rogers looked good last night. Looked like Big Ben could trust him. Caught a ridiculous touchdown off of Sammy Coates' chest.
Sammy Coates, he shared it.
Yeah, it was very nice of Sammy
Yeah, he
Coates.
shares a lot. He actually looked okay. Mike Wallace is a guy. He might put up a big game this week. I think if you're in a situation where you need if your opponent is so happy that they're not playing you with Keenan Allen and you throw Mike Wallace out there, you might make them really mad because Mike Wallace has a good matchup this week. You've got Mohamed Sanu had a good week. You have to monitor his ankle. And then lastly, before we move on to running backs, let's just talk about if you're Keenan Allen's owner, deeper league. We talked about Danny Woodhead being a possible solution in San Diego.
San Diego.
Do you move up the other wide receivers there? I mean, I can't help but move Travis Benjamin up a little bit because the best talent's going to win out.
Yeah,
I'm not buying Dontrell Inman. Tyrell Williams, okay, you could take a shot at him. 2 for 71 last week. But to me, Benjamin at least, I mean, he didn't gain a lot of yardage, but he had 7 catches.
Yeah, he led, I believe, in targets. Kelvin Benjamin did, and I don't
Travis
think
Kelvin Benjamin, huh?
Okay, Travis Benjamin. I think that Travis Benjamin, he's the type of player that doesn't seem to be benefiting from Keenan Allen's injury. However, the way they used him in Week 1 says that it could actually be Travis Benjamin who has a little bit of a bump up, so he might be worth it. Personally, I wasn't even drafting or caring about Travis Benjamin before the Keenan Allen injury. Maybe now he's relevant. For me, I would rather take a flyer for free on Tyrell Williams. He came in, if you don't know the name Tyrell Williams, he is a burner, very, very fast guy. I think his first catch last year was like an 80-yard touchdown. He's looked good in the preseason. I had picked him up a week or two ago in several of my leagues before this injury. So he's a flyer. He's one of those shot in the darks where you hope maybe you hit, and if you don't, you cut him. But if you hit, you're going to be really happy. Personally, if I lost Keenan, I'm going with a Will Fuller type.
All right, let's move on to the running back position. We have Tevin Coleman, Theo Riddick. Let's talk about those two gentlemen. I am on the Theo Riddick side. He's my favorite pickup this week. He's owned in 70% of leagues, so he might not be available in yours. But he had a really good week, looked fast, had a little scare with the concussion, but still came back out on the field. And I think him and Abdullah are both going to be a driving force of this offense. That looked very, very good in Week 1. Who's your favorite pickup? Mine's Riddick.
My favorite pickup is it's Tevin Coleman, and we were talking about this before the show. It's not necessarily based on what he did Week 1. He was the better of the two between him and Freeman. I don't expect that always to be the case, but they're going to use Coleman. Another report came out today, Atlanta, saying that Coleman is going to be used more than he was used last year, and it's that it's a guy. So he's available in almost 50% of leagues. If something happens to Freeman,
he's a monster.
You have a monster on your team.
Yes, you do.
Where Theo Riddick, I think, is fine to fill in for you. You might flex him now and then, but his upside will never be what Coleman's could be.
Definitely. And so this is really a situational pickup.
Yes.
For me, I lean with Andy that Theo Riddick is the guy that I would prefer to have. Obviously, he's owned in more leagues, so it might be more difficult. Decision might be made for you, but it's situational. If your running backs are very,
are deep, you can go for Coleman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you've got the depth, Coleman should be added. Coleman should be owned in 100% of leagues. He's owned in 50% of leagues. Grab him because, like a Charles Sims type, he can get you some value week to week, but should the starter go down, he's going to be a monster. But if you need a running back now and a guy who can get you points, Theo Riddick, you can plug him in if you're in any kind of PPR, and you're not going to get goose egg type games.
Not an impressive game from either Forsett or Terrence West last week for fantasy owners. They're still, I would sign both of them. They're on the list of guys that I would take a flyer on this week. But it also means that if Kenneth Dixon's out there, who is not going to return for the next 4 weeks. Snag him. Throw him on your IR. Throw him on your bench. I think this job is his. I think the job's his by the end of the season, I wasn't impressed with Forsett. I thought West looked fine. I think Dixon could run away with it.
Yeah, I agree, but this week West and Forsett should be great because last week they had to play against Buffalo, who looked good. Mario Williams looked good. It was not Mario Williams. Mario Williams. That being said, Mario Williams did look great, but
he did.
Not for the Bills.
The Dolphins.
For the Dolphins, he did look great. Get healthy, Mario. But that defense looked pretty good. Rex Ryan seemed to have at least half of his team working. But my point is, this week they take on the Cleveland Browns, and so if you're looking for a
spot start,
they're both good options.
Sure, yeah. Forsett was 10 for 41, just not used a lot. 3 for 15 through the air. Shane Vereen, James White, those are other low-owned players that should be probably owned. I'd take White over Vereen. And then you guys might disagree with me on this.
I do, but I think it's a valid point what you're going to say.
I believe that if you probably saw Ajayi dropped in your league by a lot of people. He was a healthy scratch. He did not travel with the team to Seattle.
He was dropped by the Dolphins then for the week.
For the week, he was dropped by the Dolphins. Ajayi was the kind of ceremonial starter for all preseason. Arian Foster took the job. I'm pretty convinced myself that Ajayi would take that starting job if Foster went down. So what I'm saying is Foster's gone down before.
Once or twice.
So when the axe falls on me when Foster goes down and I hear all of the
Fantasy Reaper
talk, I want you to remember week 1, the waiver wire show after week 1, when I told you to go sign Ajayi to ensure yourself of the running back in Miami. I don't think it's going to be Drake or Damian Williams or Isaiah Peed. They'll get work, but I think Ajayi would get the majority of the snaps if Foster went down. So now that I called them up and I said, look, leave Ajayi at home so that fantasy owners with Foster can grab him. And they listened. I have clout.
That was kindness.
Very kind. So, look, these guys might not agree about Ajayi being the guy in that situation, but I think he would be.
I agree that I think he would be more of the guy if Foster goes down than anybody else on the roster.
All right, let's talk tight ends. We said if you're a Zach Ertz owner and you're moping, Eric Ebron might be there. He's 46% owned. He'd be one of the top waiver pickups on my roster if I didn't have a tight end. He was 5 for 46 and a touchdown. Look, you lost a lot of red zone action with Calvin Johnson's retirement. I think Ebron looked all right.
Ebron is a guy that for me, I was very high on him coming into the season. I was high on him this week. I played him in our league of record. This is a guy that he would be my number 1 if I need a tight end. I think he's got a plus matchup this week in Tennessee. He is my target.
Sure, and then you got Dwayne Allen, who lived up to Jason's prophecies.
Yeah.
Always scoring in week 1 of the season. Although I hope the rest of the prophecy doesn't come true from his history where he doesn't really perform well.
Well, he's not going to perform well this week, and honestly, if you're in the Dwayne Allen consideration, right, you're streaming your tight end. You don't have you're not picking up a second tight end to have Dwayne Allen. Then I wouldn't be picking him up because he plays Denver, and that defense. I'm just not
total
excited.
Production, yeah.
Total production for the game. I don't think they're going to be putting up a ton of points. Where the percentage of Dwayne Allen's touchdown chance it just goes down to where I would rather have other guys like Eric Ebron, or there's 2 guys who I'll bring up at the end.
Jason Witten.
Jason Witten would be
Love
fine.
Jason Witten. 9 catches this week. Kicking myself for picking up Martellus Bennett over Witten this past week when I needed a start at the tight end position because Witten is just the best friend. He's best friends with rookie quarterbacks or fill-in quarterbacks.
He's best friends with everybody.
Yeah.
You want to know who I would pick up and start this week over Dwayne Allen?
Is it Virgil Green?
I would, but
yes.
I'm going to throw a different name out that I might get a little flack for. So we'll see. I'm excited.
If it's Shannon Sharpe, you're going to get some flack for it.
No, it's actually Coby Fleener. Coby Fleener will probably be dropped in most leagues, at least half
I
of
don't
leagues.
know about most.
That is hogwash.
I think Coby Fleener.
Most leagues.
I think
no
Coby
way.
Fleener gets dropped in. I think he's going to be about
handful.
50%.
I'll go
handful. Yeah.
I'll go handful. I'll say
yeah.
Okay, all right. 50% is what I believe. I think half of your leagues you're going to have the ability to pick him up. I might be wrong on that, but he has a very plus matchup this week. And, I'm not off
in those
of him
leagues. I'll be picking up Adrian Peterson off the waiver wire over Fleener.
Wait, you're saying that?
Why? Whatever those leagues are, they're probably dropping AP too.
Yeah. Well,
Brandon Marshall's on the waiver wire there too.
Coby Fleener and Adrian Peterson, they went next to each other in most startup drafts.
See, that's wrong. They actually
went,
didn't. AP was early, and Fleener was in the fourth round.
That's my point.
Okay.
Virgil Green.
The point is there.
Pick him up.
Jason's point is that if you're in a league where Fleener lands on the waiver wire,
pick him up.
He's worth the pickup.
In addition to him, I'll throw out another one that will be available in a lot of leagues.
Todd Gurley's now available.
Who will? You can mock all you want, but I'm trying to help people.
Yeah, Gronkowski.
When Coby Fleener ends up in your league, or Gary Barnidge ends up in your, I know it's crazy to think no one would drop him, but it will happen.
No,
pick those guys up.
Barnidge will get dropped in leagues. I have had people send me a message and say, is it time to cut bait on Barnidge because the Browns stink? I'm not going to say most leagues, as you said, but several leagues will take place. All right, quarterbacks. Let's look at the waiver wire for quarterbacks. I don't know what to say about the quarterback position because we're going to get into our streaming quarterbacks. So I guess the debate is this. Who do you sign as a long-term answer at the quarterback position in fantasy football based on results of this past week?
Long-term answer, I like Andy Dalton.
My two long-terms are
64% owned.
Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston.
Okay, 59% owned. Those are the names that I would bring up as well. Winston looked good. He's got Arizona this week. I'm very curious to see what week number 2 looks – because even in the preseason, Winston had these on games, off games, different matchup. They're at Arizona, aren't they?
Yes.
They're in Phoenix, so very, very difficult matchup this week. At home again in a place where the Cardinals rarely lose after they just lost.
Yep.
And the coach came out and said, the GM came out, unacceptable loss. You're at home. Very tough matchup for Winston. I'm steering clear of him this week.
Well, we'll talk about him in a second because one of us is not.
I know. That's incredible. So other guys that could be spot start pickups, Joe Flacco, he's only 15% owned. He's got the Browns this week. Marcus Mariota has Detroit.
Look,
they had a shootout this past week, 56% owned. I think they bounce back.
There are still 5% of leagues where you can pick up Eli Manning. If you're in one of those, he's playing the Saints.
All right, and then what are some good situational defenses to start this week?
So here's the thing. The Jets are available in over 40% of leagues.
Crazy.
The New York Jets, who will be taking on the Buffalo Bills.
On Thursday.
Yeah, I would get in on that.
Heck yeah. I love the Jets D-line. They're even better this week than they were last week, and they're
Sheldon Richardson
back from suspension. So, the Jets would be my number one far and away.
The Eagles have the Bears this week. The Jaguars have the depleted Chargers. I don't know if I'm super excited about either of those, to be honest with you.
I would like New England Patriots. They probably are out there in a lot of leagues because they had a Week 1 matchup against Arizona. But
they take on the Dolphins, right?
They take on the Dolphins. Yeah. They're a large favorite in a low-scoring Vegas over-under game.
Ravens D against the Browns. Even if McCown moves the ball a little bit,
there'll still be turnovers.
Are probably going to be there. So let's move on to the streamers.
Full stream ahead.
All right, I'm going to kick it off. My streaming quarterback of the week hurts me to say it.
It shouldn't.
It's Matty Ice, Matt Ryan. I don't like him. I have an anger issue about, Matt Ryan's performances, but I got to move past it. 334-2. Faces Oakland. Oakland just gave up, I did the math, 10 million points to New Orleans this past week.
Accurate.
And Drew Brees, leading the way. I think Matt Ryan can do enough this week. Look, he racks up production out of the backfield with Coleman and Freeman. You've got Julio Jones. I'm going to withdraw my stream of the week if Julio sits for whatever reason, but I don't expect him to be. That was something we should have said in the news. Julio thinks he'll be fine for this week.
Breaking news, Julio has an ankle tweak all season long.
Yeah, just keep repeating that. If Sanu turns into a legitimate second wide receiver weapon for the Falcons, that's big news for Matt Ryan.
It's important for Matt Ryan to have different options to overthrow in the end zone. You know what I mean? You don't want to just overthrow Julio. It's not consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't talk. We barely mentioned.
I like how I said that, and Matt Ryan's my start.
We barely mentioned Sanu's name in the waivers. I would monitor his foot or ankle. He was seen limping heavily, but if he plays, he's actually a really good spot start against New Orleans for the same reason you picked
The
Matty
Raiders.
Ice.
The Raiders.
Oh, yeah, against the Raiders. Correct. I was thinking the Raiders-New Orleans-Saint matchup of last week, which was great. I'm going to go next because we've already alluded to this stream of the week, but I'm going with Jameis Winston, and the reason is because of what Andy said. He's got a very tough matchup on the road against Arizona, a team that has been a very good pass defense. They're coming off of a loss, and they don't lose 2 in a row very often. So that's a game where I think you're going to be afraid of starting Jameis Winston. And for me, I've got him on 2 of my main leagues, and I'm going to be starting him this week. The reason why is because he looks good. He has the weapons. Mike Evans is legit. Austin Seferian-Jenkins was used and is a good pass-catching tight end. Even Humphreys, and I think you were weak early on Vincent Jackson, who I think is going to eat this week. Even Charles Sims out of the backfield. But more importantly than that, Arizona has a guy named Brandon Williams. And let me just say this. Bruce Arians, head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, if you're out there, if you're listening, as a Cardinals fan, please do something about that. You cannot leave Brandon Williams out there. And you can't leave him out there and not scheme to help protect him. Your pride is getting in the way. That being said, I think he's prideful this week. And I think he says, no, Brandon Williams is going to bounce back, and he's going to be great. And if he's there and they're not scheming to protect him, he is not ready to guard against a guy like Vincent Jackson. So I think that's –
Well, I got a water bet for you.
Oh.
Because, I mean, if you're going to throw out Jameis Winston, what's the where does he have to finish for this water bet?
Top 15.
Top 15.
There you go.
Water bet.
Oh, my.
Yeah. I don't think he finishes in the top 15.
This is also, just to let you know, this
my.
game is the second highest scoring game of the week predicted by Vegas. I love that when I look at streaming. When you're looking at guys
Is that
off
the
waivers,
same Vegas that had the Seahawks winning by 10?
it was the same Vegas that predicted the 2 highest scoring games to be the New Orleans Saints against Oakland and the Detroit Lions against Indianapolis.
My grandma picked that too.
Well, there you go.
All right, Mike, who's your full stream ahead
All right.
streaming quarterback of the week? I
So-
can't believe you get this one.
Well, I'm giving 2, actually, because the numbers, I'm fudging them just a little bit. Dalton is slightly over the threshold we like to go with, but he's available in nearly 40% of leagues. He gets to take on Pittsburgh, and like we had talked about, even though these guys thought Cousins looked bad, he still had over 300 yards. And Andy Dalton the garbage man can. That's perfectly fine. And Andy Dalton had a great week 1. AJ Green looks ready to go. I just think that passing attack, Andy Dalton, for whatever reason, he is the vegetable of the quarterback position that people just don't want to play. And so, like I said, my numbers are slightly over for Dalton. So I'll also throw out Joe Flacco. He gets to take on the Browns. We saw the rookie quarterback who was, by all accounts, not ready to be a starter. That's what the rumors in the bushes were. Carson Wentz is just not ready. They moved Sam Bradford, so he had to be ready. And what did he do? Put up almost 302 touchdowns, and more importantly, 101 passer rating. Carson Wentz looked great. So I think Joe Flacco, with his new weapons of another week for Steve Smith to come back, and Mike Wallace as a burner, I think Joe Flacco is a great stream.
How about
this
a
week.
shout out to Victor Cruz and Dennis Pitta this week?
I loved
and
seeing
Lance Dunbar.
Yeah.
that salsa
Lance
dance.
Dunbar, you are an amazing human being. Lance
Look,
Dunbar.
I mean, Pitta was in a lot. We didn't mention him because the weapons are just so numerous, and I think week to week it's going to be tough in Baltimore. But props to Pitta for getting back on the field. And Victor Cruz, congratulations.
Victor Cruz.
If he's semi-healthy as a 3 there,
Victor Cruz
that changes the whole team.
I don't have the number in front of me. It was something like 50-55 or 55-60. It was like 95% of snaps Victor Cruz played.
Oh, man. I love it. I love to see Cruz back.
So, all right. So those are our streamers, Dalton, Matt Ryan, and Jameis Winston this week. Make sure you visit the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. Get your questions in for tomorrow's mailbag episode. We've also got some other exciting stuff going on tomorrow. And stay tuned through the week. We'll have our starts of the week. We'll have some DFS content. We'll get into all of the matchups. And it's going to be a fun week. It's week 1, guys. It's over. Week 1 is done. Week 2 is here. We're into the season. And for goodness sakes, the Cardinals better win this week. All right. I want to thank our sponsor of the show again today, 5-4 Club. You heard Mike talking about them. If you want to stand out in a crowd and not blend in like everybody else, check out the 5-4 Club. You just go to 54club.com, type in the promo code BALLERS, and you get $240 worth of clothing for $60. It's
a good deal.
They give you a super good deal for putting in that BALLERS code because the BALLERS code is magic. So check out 5-4 Club. And that is it for today.
Hey, check out Fantasy Jocks if you need to get your trophies on.
That's right.
The promo code for that is Footballers.
We got the show after the show coming up as well.
Footballers.
Yeah, go to YouTube, watch show after the show.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.